Hi guys, welcome back to FVSD Life. My name's Bramwyn. So for today's video, it is part 3 of my stomach journey. And if you enjoy this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So as I said last week, I had the most horrendous pain in my stomach and I physically couldn't move. And so Mum took me up to A&E and so Mum took me up to A&E and I was seen pretty much immediately. They looked at me and just said, go up to the wards. And so they took me up to the ward. As you guys know, they gave me the sexy jewellery and they gave me the gorgeous clothing, which makes you feel like an absolute princess. And so, you know, bracelet, gowned up, and I was probably there for about 3 hours. They did some blood tests and they felt my stomach, and literally they just said you're constipated. And I was like, but I've been going to the toilet, I've been absolutely fine. I was like, yeah, you're still backed up though. And so they gave me some medication to shift it. So yeah, laxatives, which was fun. And they also said, before I was discharged, they said I'll be followed up by the gastrology team. So long story short, I didn't get followed up by anyone. I didn't actually hear anything from anybody about this. And so skipping a few years, yes, but skipping a year, I was still getting stomach pains. It was nowhere near as bad as at night, thankfully, but I was still in a lot of pain. And one day I said to Mum, seriously, what am I going to do? And she just said, well, did you actually see the gastrology team? And I was there like, what are you talking about? And she was like, you know, the gastrology from when you were in hospital and they told you that you needed to see someone. I was like, nothing ever happened. And so she was like, okay, we'll find the paperwork and then we'll talk to the GP. And so literally that entire day we dug through all my medical records, which you should always keep. I'm not joking. It can save your life, and it's why it's changed my life particularly. And yeah, so I found the paperwork, and it was actually written in the paperwork. That I needed to be seen by someone. And so yeah, so I went to GP. She was like, oh yes, that's right, it does say that. And so she quickly arranged it, and I was seen by gastrology. And they said, okay, so first I want you, and so I explained to them my symptoms and what's been going on. And they said, okay, so because of your issues with gluten and the constipation, we want you to have a colonoscopy first. Which was probably which wasn't the worst one I had, which is very bizarre because people would think that's the worst one. And so if you don't know what it is, it's camera up the back passage, it's gross. And so I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. And they said they were also going to do a biopsy to see if I do actually have allergies to gluten. And I was like, oh yeah, it's absolutely fine too, yeah. And so they did that. So I went for the colonoscopy and so I went and I had gas and air, which, it was different, you know, gas and air. When they said, oh, you're having gas and air, I was thinking to myself, am I having a baby? But no, it was to make things more easier, which, it was enjoyable, you know, not a fun experience, obviously, with what was going on the other end, but, you know, the gas and air, I was like, I was pretty puffing it. But yeah, and so I had the colonoscopy. They said they couldn't see anything that was wrong. They also couldn't see any, but no, they also did the biopsy, which came back as negative for gluten allergy. And they also did they also said that there was slight redness, but that was also possible from constipation as well, so which is quite normal. I was like, okay, that's fine. And so they spoke to me, the gastrology, I was referred back to the gastrology team, and I said, seriously, what are we going to do, because my stomach is really, really bad. And so they said, okay, how about we get you to have a, what is the actual procedure called? We'll have you to have a, yeah, I cannot pronounce that at all. It was a endoscopy. And I also, no, it's called a gastroscopy. A gastroscopy. And so it was a endoscopy, so it was a camera down the throat. And this was out of both procedures, I would say that was the worst one. Even though I asked them to give me anaesthesia, so I was asleep, which was, which made it a lot easier. So I went and I had that done. Straight afterwards, the pain in my stomach, oh my goodness, it was awful. Oh my gosh, I cannot explain. I know people say it's, you do get a slight discomfort afterwards, but the diagnosis is a abnormal stomach pyloric. Diagnosis is a hiatus hernia without obstruction or gangrene, which I looked up. The obstruction and gangrene is really important. If you do actually have those wrong, along with a hernia, you're supposed to be operated on, because it can be considered life-threatening, which I'm really grateful that I don't have the obstruction or gangrene. And so there are many different types of hernias, especially hiatus hernias. And so this type of hernia that I have is a 2 to 3 centimetre sliding hiatus hernia was seen, with no esophagitis or Barrett's being present, and rest of examination was normal. So this is a completely new, different diagnosis. It was really shocking, but it helped sort of, like, it makes a lot of sense with the stomach pain and the discomfort and the gurgling and the grumbling that I get from my stomach. Seriously, it's so loud, and it's so embarrassing too. Especially if I've just eaten a meal and my stomach goes, and if people go, oh, are you hungry for more food? I'm just like, no, don't, please. It's absolutely mortifying. But yeah, so the team I was sent back to the gastrologist, who referred me to a dietitian to see what foods I could be allergic to or intolerant to. And this dietitian was absolutely amazing. She diagnosed me, what she first did, this was the very first appointment, she actually gave me a huge list of foods, and she said, I want you to completely cut all these foods out for a week. Well, no, for a few weeks, and then come back and see me. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I just want to quickly say, the reason why I was referred to the dietitian is because, not just because of the stomach and the gurgling, but because of the amount of wind I was passing. Like burping, and the other end, it was just really, really embarrassing. And yeah, and mum was more concerned about the wind and the constipation and stuff. And yeah, well, she was concerned about everything, but yeah. And so I went back to the dietitian after doing these changes, and she said, I want you to slowly introduce. She asked me how I was, and I said, honestly, I've been fine. And Mum said, yeah, it's not been windy or anything. And so, yeah, the dietitian told me to slowly start introducing foods back. And I did, and I went back and I said, the pain has come back. And she said, oh, okay, so what have you reintroduced? And I said, and I showed her, and I said, these are the highlighted ones that I've done. And she said, oh, okay, what if it was onion and garlic? Do you want to cut out onion and garlic again? And literally, me and Mum looked at each other and was like, how in the world do you cut out onion and garlic? Is it pure? And she was there, she's like, well, actually, she suggested a spice. I think it's a spice or a herb, I can't remember. But I'm going to tell you exactly what the name is next week. And she also recommended me having the green ends of spring onions and stuff. Because apparently your body does not work. Like your body doesn't digest food properly if you completely cut out onion and garlic. And so, yeah. And me cutting out onion and garlic has changed my life dramatically. I am going to wrap this up now, because next week I'm going to tell you guys how I manage my stomach and what I actually eat during what I tried to eat, and yeah, and what sort of diets I've been on, which has helped change my life, and how my stomach's actually affected relationships, because it's been quite different with relationships. Yeah, so alright you guys, I hope you have a good week. Take care and stay safe, and I'll see you next week for the final part of this video. Well, the final part of my journey. Alright, bye guys.